Well, I super quick.
Hello, everyone. It is July 15th, 2023, and you are sitting at the controls with me in this beautiful summer virtual space for poetry. The theme today is recordando como me pellizco, remembering how it pinched me. Here we are on the third Saturday of the month, and everything's the same, but nothing is the same. As poets know, anytime we gather, we recognize and honor that reality, that opportunity for everything to be the same and nothing to be the same. So thank you for being here, and I'm hoping to hear any work you have to share on anything. If you want to kind of cobble together some kind of connection to the asserted theme for today or not, no one's gonna get booted for doing something on other themes. Richard already said that he has to leave early for a dinner date, and I wish you well in advance. Happy dining. So who would like to read first? Would anybody like to share, do an opener, some kind of open greeting, a blessing, or an incantation?
I did print out something to read, but I'll have to do it when I'm done driving before I go into my friends. Plus, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me because you're breaking up a lot.
You're audible, very audible, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Jeffrey, it looked as if you were shifting in place to maybe offer something.
Actually, I was just thinking that recently I've been focusing on meditations on my heart chakra. And the heart chakra has to do with love and compassion and connectedness with other people. And in the meditation, it became clear that the shadow side that I need to work on is that whenever there's great love, there's great grief. And to the extent that you don't express that grief, it blocks up your chakra. And so I've been thinking a lot about people that I've lost and how to free up the grief that I didn't express at the time. And so that's one of the reasons why, Tammy, with your loss, it's been bringing that up for me also. I've lost my mother and my father and two of my brothers. And so I've been dealing with the extent to which I haven't fully expressed my grief over those losses. But what I'm going to do right now is talk about my brother Bruce, my younger brother who died. I don't know if I've shared about him before here, because he was I'm going to tell a little story here. That part of the expression of grief is to tell the story, to remember, and to to highlight things. And my brother Bruce was he was the black sheep of our family. He was the one we used to joke that we didn't think he'd make it to his 19th birthday, because he started into mainlining speed and things like that when he was in his young teens, and he was but he was somebody that everybody immediately fell in love with, because he was a very charismatic kind of kid. And so he got into drugs. He dropped out of high school. When my father died, he just stopped going to school, and he went to work for a mafia moving company on Long Island, and they'd drive up and down the East Coast running guns and cigarettes and things like that. And but he, at a truck stop in South Carolina, he met a woman who was a hairdresser, and just got off the truck and stayed, and ended up getting a job working on a shrimp boat. He raised hogs and grew marijuana, raised chickens, and worked in a shrimp boat, and really refound himself. He was just in the wrong century to live in suburbia. He was a farmer at heart. And so he lived in coastal South Carolina, way off where you couldn't, it wasn't on the way to or from anywhere. And so I didn't get to visit him very often. And 14 years ago, I realized I hadn't seen him since my mother had died. And so I flew to Atlanta, near where my sister lived, stayed with my sister for a couple of days, and then the two of us drove to 5 hours to South Carolina to see my brother, and finally spent some time with him. And a few months later, he died. So I had this premonition that made me go there. And so the family was invited to go to a celebration of his life. And the captain of the shrimp boat, my brother was cremated, and he wanted his ashes distributed out on the water. And so we all got onto the shrimp boat and went out into the bay, and everybody told stories about him, and sort of celebrated who he was. And then we had a wreath made of flowers, and we had the urn with the ashes, and we put the ashes in the water, and we threw the wreath into the water, and a dolphin came and swam up through the wreath and took it away. And so everybody was so shocked by it. I mean, nobody had been taking pictures of it or anything. So like, we don't have any, but it's like, it was very clear that he had a good passage.
That's beautiful.
To the other side. So
that's amazing.
That's my story.
All my goosebumps are up. Oh.
And your brother did not raise stunt dolphins.
No, he didn't.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
What was your brother's name, Jeffrey?
Bruce
Yes,
Spencer.
yes. Welcome to Mahute, aka Mark. Good to see you, Mark. Welcome.
Hey, Jeffrey,
Yes.
I was wondering if you happen to remember what year he met that woman in South Carolina and maybe what her name was.
Ruth. Her name was Ruth.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's a story behind that too, because let's see, what year was it? Around probably, let's see, it had to have been in the around 90, somewhere, because
Okay,
she
curious.
she ended up, I mean, they had 2 kids, but she made him move out because he wasn't giving up on his drugs and alcohol. But her best friend took him in because so he had, and when my mother died, his wife and his mistress drove him up to the funeral in New Hampshire. Like I said, everybody loved my brother, and so anyway, that I can't remember the exact year that he met her.
I was just curious. Yeah, I spent a little time passing through South Carolina. Just curious.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Oh.
I started something a few weeks ago. I'm trying to recall my brother's 9 lives because I feel like he lived a lot of lives, had a lot of adventures, and my nephew and niece have helped me piece together some accurate renderings of this this thing I'm working on. So I'll read what I have so far. The 9 lives of Ted Gomez. The first one, choking in his crib one night. Was he given sausage to eat while in a lie-down position? Mom panicked and sent us across the street to get help for calling an ambulance. I knelt on the fuchsia kneeler below the crucifix hanging in the room I shared with Miranda, prayed with all my might. All 8-9 years stamina of me. Life number 2. The Halloween afternoon when Mama wrapped Ted so tightly in masking tape from head to toe for his mummy costume, and he started to have problems breathing. I was the one who noticed the problem and his condition, running inside the house for pairs of scissors to start cutting off the tape so he could move freely and breathe again. The third life, riding shotgun with Daddy, who was driving with only one eye of vision. Ted helped him navigate so he wouldn't hit the cars parked on the street. Life 4, Joe's garage. Ted was 86th from the club after he was becoming unruly, trying to sing on stage with the band after doing shots on top of some heavy drug like acid. When he wandered out to the highway after he'd been thrown out of the club, he was so fascinated by the lights that he was standing in the middle of the street until he was hit head on by a samurai jeep. And the police officer who reported to the scene told me that he could see a head, a skull-shaped indentation in the windshield where my brother hit the windshield. Life number 5. Ted and Anna flipped their car near I-30 and University Street. Ted apparently got up and rushed to hide the beers in a bush before the cops and other first responders arrived. Life number 6. Tornado in the museum district, alone with his cat Grady, about to start eating his microwaved lasagna. Life number 7. The time that Ted demanded that his Austin friend Sean punch him in the chest as hard as you can multiple times. So that's as far as I've gotten with that list of his lives. There's one other thing. I've apparently my brother was bitten by a brown recluse spider, and it was eating away at some of his skin on one of his limbs. I forget which limb. I have to get the details. So that would be the 8th life. So I guess the 9th is what finally took him, and that was a horrible, disastrous death, rending combo of liver and kidney and respiratory failure.
Kidney.
All together at once, until the very end when he left us, not even a week ago today.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'll just read this one piece. That's a poem I wrote long ago, and then I'll stop. Written on his birthday in 2007, July 30th, 2007. I cooed you to sleep with volumes, terms tan cariñosos as to sugar the hardest stone. But you were such a jewel, the perfect baby brother, and it was almost hard to believe that you were here for real. Baby in blue, that was you, a brother blue ideal in knitted booties, plaid cotton hats, and suits for baby gents out for daily strolls. We taught you to walk with guiding arms, uplifting your grasping, pudgy fists, until one day, surprise for all, you showed us your brave steps amidst the rusting machines at the nighttime laundromat. Up and down the street you wildly played, and I envied you the many friends your same age living along our block, maturing at such an equal pace. You showed yourself as leader, the boo-boo that commanded activities in all front yards, but everyone was charmed. Snow cones and Slurpees lured you to their welcome mats. Your hand-stitched Batman cape was a security cloth, and it clung from your neck all summer, as the archives prove. You perched in trees against blue impalas, crouching by the curb. So what made you cry and forsake the cape? Tell me, when did you lose the hero superpowers, and what light inside your deep brown eyes lost its wattage and made you go dark, as if I didn't know? Muhute, you're muted. I can see you moving your lips, Mahute, but I can't hear you. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that was badass. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And I love you too.
Thank you, Mahute.
No, that was a badass poem. What a I mean, you collected all the thoughts about his whole life, and you put it in the poem, and it was a beautiful poem. Okay, beautiful poem. So thank you. I didn't know you, brother, but I know you. So I like the way you do that. That was awesome.
I think he would have enjoyed shooting the shit with you, Mahute, and he might have trusted you enough to ask you to pound him in his heart.
Okay, well, I don't know if I'd say thank you or I'm sorry I didn't pound him in the heart. I don't know what to say. Yeah. I love you, Tammy. I'm sorry about your brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, am I on? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
You want to share your piece? Are you arrived?
Yeah, I just parked.
Okay,
And
cool. That's a good time.
And I'm sorry I can't stay. Hi. I wonder who all is here. Okay. Anyway, if I may, so
Yes, you may.
Go for it.
you know, one of the hardest deaths or passings that I've had was my ex-partner, Bryce.
Mahute, could you mute yourself again? Because I'm hearing some sound. Sorry, Richard.
Oh, yeah, anyway, so.
Mark, can you mute yourself, please?
I'm not making any sound.
Oh, I don't know. It's maybe the wind on the microphone or something. I don't know.
I'll look.
I'll turn myself off too. There.
Oh, that's okay. Anyway, yeah, I had an ex partner pass, and this wasn't that many years ago, and they were a lot younger than I. They were in their 20s, and they were pretty special. And I ended the relationship because sort of the age difference was too problematic, but I loved them. And then they started doing a lot of heroin and died within the year. Anyway, and I wrote a few things after Bryce passed, but this was the one that was sort of I'd like to share. It's not a poem of grieving. It's a poem of getting through grieving. Advice for going through hell. 1, keep your hat on. 2, don't put your hand in dark holes. 3, bring lots of carbs. 4, don't forget to drink water. 5, careful of steps. They tend to shift. 6, careful of faces. They tend to shift. 7, watch that lava. 8, refuse unfamiliar beverages. 9, dig a hole in the sand and sit in it. 10, walk like you mean it. 11, if you have to hit something, beat the shit out of the earth. 12, try not to leave too big a carven footprint while doing that. 13, make 13 your lucky number. 14, your chakras will open again at some point. 15, make every number your lucky number. Advice for going through hell.
Thank you. Yeah, you and I had talked on the phone about pounding at the earth and how I dig fire pits when I'm angry. Well, not only when I'm angry.
Yeah.
It's one way to get some anger out is get that shovel and start picking, plucking at the earth. I also think it's a really good exercise to pull weeds when you're upset and angry, because it's like a tug of war with something clinging into the earth, and then you win. When you pull it out, it's like the whole earth, the globe held on to this plant, but you were strong enough to extract it from the globe. And like, who can't feel like a winner when you've done that?
I think also when you're having a hard time, it's good to be in touch with some roots, you know. Well, I'm so sorry I can't stay on, and thank you for letting me share that. I'm sitting in front of my friend's house, and it's nice to see everyone. And Tammy, maybe when, give a call when you have a few breaths. I haven't called because I didn't want to interrupt your breaths this week. But you can call anytime.
And I have, because you are my West Coast late night person.
Ringy dingy.
Because I know you're awake. And you console me and keep me company when I need to get things out.
Yeah.
Well, have a great dinner with your friend Mary, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Namaste, everyone, and more soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. So who would like to read next? Who's got a piece or a prose piece or a poem or a list of things? I had a list, the 9 lives list, and then Richard had the things to do when you're getting through grief.
I can share one.
Thank you, Lorraine.
In much of Latin America, cats only have 7 lives.
So Mahuta, you want to follow Lorraine? Okay, I can't hear you, but I'm assuming you're saying yes, so haha.
And yes, I'd like to follow her. That'd be
Okay,
great.
sounds great. Okay, thank you, Mahute. Lorraine, yeah, sorry about that. Go for it, please.
Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, in much of Latin America, cats only have 7 lives.
Yeah, I heard that. Thanks.
Okay, this is called receiving the message. Several dark hours before the dawn, I awoke from light's dream and stood sheltered beneath the arcade, watching the quiet rain intensify, and I knew a change had come. In the weak illumination, I received word of her passing several hours before. The rain-soaked lines snapped, fizzed together, time and again. As I sent my thanks, my thoughts, my light across the many miles between my exile and her family.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Was this a recent poem about a recent lost friend?
No, it was about 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago.
Well, sometimes it takes that long. Realize.
Well, Mahute, you ready to go next?
Yes, I'm pulling it up now. Yeah, I got it. This is the one I wrote. I just wrote last week. But, as poets, we always like the latest shit they rewrote. Amazing. But anyway, I have friends I've had for 40 years. So I wrote them a poem. Because we've been in a band for 40 years, 43 years. But anyway, we just play music. We love music, and that's all we do. So I wrote this to them. And here it is. All the toil of the week gone, not spoken of until lunch. Next day before the soccer game, if only in passing. Starting in 1984, after our divorce, deciding to live life again, y'all held me when I fell between the hells I created. Listen and laugh with a snap of the hat to me singing the blues with a heavy heart. Your wives never liked me and never stood why y'all did. I know why. We were brothers growing up together. A big part of me will be missing almost 40 years of becoming the person I am now and the man I soon welcome. Love has many different layers. My heart is indebted to what I think love is between us brothers. Thank you.
I read that when you posted it on Facebook. It's very sweet tribute to your friend.
I know, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm leaving everybody. I'm going to New York, upstate New York, and to Rome. And I don't even know what to say to people. I was like, how can I tell you how much I've loved your existence? I'll say that to you. I mean, I'm gonna miss the hell out of you. You know, come over to my house. We've been 40 years. I mean, 40 years I've known you, I think, and it's awesome. And I gonna miss the hell out of you, Tammy.
Figure out ways to stay in touch. I'm sure you will. Like times like this.
Yeah. And I'd love to come visit. But you can always be with us, Mahute, in on do in these readings, because we have people here from all over. Alice is in San Antonio, and Richard, who read earlier, is in the Bay Area in Oakland. And it just we can still be connected, even though we're not in the same physical space.
I would definitely. I'm not gonna stop writing poetry. I'm not 12 years old. You know that. I told you. But I was like, man, I thank you for letting me be part of it. Okay.
Of course, thank you. I'm so happy you showed up today. And I'm gonna see you in Lane at your farewell shindig tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mahute and his wife bought a house up in upstate New York, and they'll be leaving this town, leaving Texas in a matter of weeks. So it's gonna be.
Oh, I'm getting on the airplane. Elaine's leaving next Wednesday. I'm leaving next Friday. Getting on the airplane, and I'm gone. So
Wow.
1 week.
Wow, 1 week. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we've been poetry friends, allies, and buddies for a long time. And I need to have a beat poet community, and I don't always have that, easily at hand up in this area. But yeah, I mean, I have lots of people virtually. But we've had physical, like we've been in person with each other, which is why I think meeting virtually allows us to feel close. Like Lorraine and I used to, kick it in Austin back in the day.
Well, I feel like we can do this. And I'm going to Rome, New York, Syracuse University. I'm some poetry friends and music friends there, I think. What's that bullshit?
Tammy?
Yes.
I have a little something. It's more prose than poetry, but it's memories of the Buena Vista parties that we used to have in the 70s. And if I could read a little bit of that, I'm
For sure. Yeah, go for it. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah. I want to figure out how to remember more memories. But here's what I got for right now. I'm calling it right now the remembering the dance until dawn. Dance until dawn. That's what we'd call them. Parties at the Buena Vista house. Guests heard the music down the block as they arrived for a night of music dancing, eating while dancing, collapsing various places in the backyard on the carpets, blankets, hammocks, lovingly arranged for the comfort of our friends, our guests. I danced a few with Rolando Briseño, who insisted that we dance dramatically, with our cheeks so closely pushed together that our heads were side to side as one. We kept the LSD lemonade on top of the refrigerator so people could choose to trip, not splash into a trip. My housemates were caring hosts, supplying face wipes or guiding guests to the lavatory, kitchen sink, bushes, if they were in danger of vomiting. As Dawn smiled on us, still swaying, some actually dancing, all rehydrating, we noticed which ones were alert which guests needed pillows or covers. At dawn, coffee encouraged some who were ready to go to their homes to say their mil graciases. As they staggered away, others pitched in to cook a communal brunch. How do you say in one word, joyful exhaustion? And that's what I have there.
I like it. I like it a lot. Beautiful.
Thank you very much. It's going to be just a matter of making myself sit down and pull up memories and writing them down to get a fuller image of the place.
No,
I'm
thank
gonna.
you.
Oh, wait. A joyful exhaustion.
Yes, one word for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna ruminate on that here, and I'll get back with you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, and that was about an experience in the 70s. I think that's what I heard you say.
Yes, that's right. I was fortunate to live with a couple of sisters who are kind of like the heart of our community at that time. And we shared well, depending on how you counted the rooms, it was a 3 or 4 bedroom house and a big old rambling backyard, and all of it was party space. So
everything was fluid, sounds like. Very cool.
Very much.
Very
Very much.
And what city was that? Houston?
Here in San Antonio.
In San Antonio. Oh. I've been thinking about compiling a lot of the writing that I've done about my brother from even 5 or 10 years ago. I have quite a few pieces, and then and also have the letters that my brother sent me when he was in prison. So there's a lot of interesting content to work with, and besides photographs and other kind of just straight factual reminiscences. But also here in the last 4 months, I've been detailing a lot of the rigorous and grueling walk that me and my family did, helping my brother navigate through his healthcare challenge, and going in and out of hospital rooms and situations like that. It's a lot of memory. So the title that I might want to give it, of that collection, appears in this poem I'm going to share. So I'm not going to tell you what line it might be that will most likely be the top contender as a title for the manuscript, but it's in this poem, which is what I'm going to read next. Poem 120 of 365. He told me to get off the computer. It's late. And I replied that I have to stay on because this is when I do my best writing. Out of the corner of my left eye, he is moving about the house to the kitchen, opening and closing various doors. After a yawn emits, he speaks again with a wave. I'm going to sleep now because that's when I do my best kayaking. So yeah, lots of anecdotes. And I wish now that I had written more, because he was full of very strange little quips and kind of stage truths, but he never had a pompous demeanor about him. Like, I'm about to say something that's golden, you better listen up. He was very kind of a ramshackle, nonchalant, you know, 9 Lives brother.
Are you describing me now?
Will I cry for you?
No, describing me. Describing me.
Oh, am I describing you? I don't, yeah, maybe because a lot of my beat poet friends are of that same cloth, maybe, you know, just a lot of adventure in their lives in the past mostly, and bodies all beat up and wounded and scarred and tattooed, and you know, just full of evidence of maybe taking wrong turns or all the good turns, but with strange and sometimes brutal consequences. But a lot of adventurers, many of whom are poets, we live our life like that without a safety net, because we don't bother with the safety net or it eludes us.
You are eternal. I want to say you are eternal. I love you, and I'm so glad to be your friend.
I feel the same way about you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Sorry about your loss.
So we're almost here at the end of the first hour together. Are y'all drumming up some other pieces to do? Is there somebody with a burning ache to read or say something now? Go for it.
I'll go get another point.
Thank
I
you.
only have 6 hours, but I have to get another drink first.
Okay. How about you, Lorraine? Got another for us, Lorraine?
I do, but I could, but it's pretty heavy.
Okay. I
I
don't
don't
mind.
know.
I think I feel okay with heavy.
How does everybody else feel about heavy?
I've been writing poetry for 45 years, so I'm okay with it.
Alice, will it take you aback to hear heavy? Okay. Thumbs up. Lorraine, go for it.
Okay. This is Spirit Suite Etude number 2. That young spirit died, no longer able to live in the machine of the material world. His angelic face hung suspended mid-air, weighted beneath by his strong, smooth-skinned body. The rose chakra of my heart split open, exposed, wound red. It laid tender, pouring out the pain of familial deaths, familiar longings, familial denials. My breath burned with intense anguish, sorrow, failings. I could see and feel the fleshy wound when the news came. He isn't coming back. Those words were a knife, a hand-made hilted dagger of Damascus steel from Spain, the blade blazing steel blue, iron red. It plunged deep into the tender rose wound of my gaping chakra. The pain left me incapacitated by depression, loss, longing. Inwardly and outwardly, I have violently cried. I have felt the very foundations of my being shake and become unstable.
Is that, I mean, without seeing your face, it's hard to know that you're finished, Lorraine. So that's why I'm asking, is that became unstable is the last, are the last words? Is that correct?
I just discovered I was I disappeared from you guys.
Yeah, the last bit, I became unstable was the last that I heard.
Okay,
And Tammy, I just checked, and Lorraine was muted for a while.
Oh, did I can't mute you. I mean, I can mute you, but I wouldn't
no,
have.
I totally I lost my connection.
Okay.
I lost my connection.
A technical blip. Okay.
Well, you know, being in the developing world.
But also
Okay.
reading a very powerful poem. I can imagine, uh, you know, a lot of electricity having snags around you.
Okay. It was I was cut just before the last stanza.
Yeah, you want to read the stanza before that and start from there to patch it together for us?
Okay. The pain left me incapacitated by depression, loss, longing. Inwardly and outwardly, I have violently cried. I have felt the very foundations of my being shake and become unstable. I am gathering from deep within, building, drawing from the base of my spine, pulling up the snake, strong, subtle, rebuilding my spirit and my life.
Thank you.
You know,
Lovely.
Is it hard to read something like that? I mean, does it bring back that agitation in a new way, or is it easy to detach? No, I mean, I could hear it in your voice. You threw it up to a fever pitch.
I'm surprised that I still can tap into that space because it has been almost 30 years, no, over 30 years.
Wow. Wow. So you carry that with you. Yeah, these aren't easy or light things, you know, the things that pinch, they leave their mark, and some of us with vivid imaginations can recall the toil, the turmoil, the lastima, and the you know, the bite of that pain.
Are you okay, Jeffrey?
Yes, but that was very powerful, and I was carried by it.
Thank you.
I know that feeling.
I ran into a friend named Laura Lynn yesterday. No, 2 days ago. It's hard to piece together the sequence of things, even when talking with my nephew or my mother. We can't quite get the story straight because we're in an emotional blur right now, going through an emotional blur. But it was I think the day before yesterday, I was in a law library at the Family Law Center picking up paperwork to apply for conservatorship. They charge you for a blank application. $29 for a blank application. And then once you pay for it, they email you the PDF. So, I mean, adding insult to injury, and now I have to fill out the damn thing and I guess get it notarized and then submit it to a family law court or judge. And the filing fee is $401.
What?
So, I mean, the expenses around the situation I'm in just keep mounting and mounting. It's yeah, it's unbelievable. And if I could just go on like a 30-second rant, it occurred to me, and maybe I'll read what I sent to my friend Elaine, Mahute's partner, earlier today, just the overwhelm of a situation like this. Because yes, people do the things that I'm trying to do with my family. But okay, here's what I wrote. Many of us go through processes of, for example, adopting a kid, moving from one place to another, sorting through belongings and keepsakes and photos for a major purge, enrolling a kid in a new school, applying for food stamps, applying for conservatorship, planning a memorial service, changing phone service plans, applying for Social Security benefits, sharing funeral plans with loved ones and friends, drafting an obituary, but to have to be doing all of these at the same time, al mismo tiempo, this is some kind of cruelty.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just, yeah, it's very, very tough. So I ran into Laura Lynn at the law library, and she's a very unique person. And Jeffrey, you know who she is. Laura Lynn, I think for a minute, because I've been watching 8.5 by Fellini to just kind of disconnect and go into a different realm. And Fellini helps with that. I think for a minute, Laura Lynn would be a great cast member for my version of a Fellini film. Then I think about total and complete nervous breakdowns. Because she mentioned nervous breakdowns. And I think about how I felt last Saturday morning at 6 a.m. when I'd stayed up all night listening to YouTube videos and then getting texts from my sister and then lying down only to get the intubation call from the hospital at 6 a.m. How my knees shook and wobbled, and my body started to cave in, and I knew I had no stamina. Like, who wants to make a life or death decision at the end of your stamina? You would never begin a senior's qualifying exam, SAT, MCAT, USMLE, at the end of a marathon race. You need all your faculties about you to test well, to make good judgments, to save important people from misery or death. The thought of silently but steadily milking 10 cows before sunrise, you rock slowly with this effort, still half asleep. You can only manage this action because it's kinetic, and you've done it countless times before, in your sleep with no sleep. But a cow milker cannot or should not be asked to intubate or not to intubate. That is the question, before sunrise and no sleep. You can't trust yourself to make the right call on no fumes and 0 hours deficit sleep. It sickens me, this nausea of imaginings. So I had to do that last Saturday at 6 a.m. and I opted yes. And I was pressured to hurry with a response because my brother was in respiratory distress. And I knew that my sister was at the hospital with her own issue at this, and I knew we wouldn't be able to gather at the hospital at that hour. So I opted to buy some time by having him intubated, but it was for only about 24 hours. And then he was extubated by our request.
Mhm.
And then when he breathed on his own, he did. And I put my fingers beneath his nostrils and cool rushes of breath were coming out of his nose. It made me so happy to know that he got to feel that respiratory, experience again on his own. And then 3 hours later, he was gone.
Wow, Tammy.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for taking us where you were, where maybe some of us have not been as far as thinking about breathing like that.
Oh yeah, that's
Goodness.
what I've been telling people, like, put your fingers beneath your nostrils and just notice that sensation and how easy, relaxed, and inevitable it feels. We don't question it until we're not able to do it, and then that's when it becomes like, wow, I was doing something that I can no longer do on my own. Like, how was it that I had capacity for 30 or 50 or 60 years and without even thinking about it?
Mm.
Yeah. Keep counting into the 70s. I recommend the 70s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, the
Maybe
70s
80s.
or the 80s, yes.
Yes.
And Tammy, last Sunday you opened and hosted the live poetry reading, Fort Worth, and then left us and did all of that at the afterwards. I mean, I can't express how powerful that is.
That's amazing, Tammy. I didn't know. I lost track. I didn't know you were doing that. That's astounding.
Well, like I said earlier, I need my people, and I asked for my family's blessing. I said, I need to leave the hospital to go do my open mic in person, and I'm gonna let them know that I might need to leave early. And they'll, I just ask for people's permission and consent and blessing, and I get it pretty often. So I feel like I've made good choices about the people I'm around, because I don't get too much grief at all. And my family said, yes, go do what you need to do. We'll be okay. And you need that. You need to be around your poet friends, so they know that that I get nurtured and fed and nourished by communities like this. So that's why I wasn't gonna miss tonight, so
We're fortunate. You're fortunate that you're such a human being. You actually need people. So yeah. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for finding this space worthy of your time on a Saturday night. Although it's too hot to go anywhere anyway, so you might as well log on and be with us. Lorraine, what's the temperature where you are, Lorraine?
Oh, we're in the dry season, which means then that during the day it could get quite warm. Especially at high altitude, the ultraviolet rays can get like really super strong. It's like a sun you'll never feel at low altitude. And but at night, if it's clear, it gets pretty cold, like down to maybe 40 degrees.
Wow. Whoa. I can't even imagine that. Oh my gosh.
No, it's summertime. I mean, the mid 80s is as cool as it seems to get over here in San Antonio. Yeah. 40s. Goodness, Lorraine.
Let me get the Okay, like right now it's 51 degrees.
What? Send me some of that. Send me some of that.
See, we're here in Fort Worth. We're at 93. It's cooled down to 93.
Hey, I remember some summers. Summer of 88. Oh my God, over a month, not here, elsewhere. Over a month of temperatures during the day over 100 degrees up to 117. And at night, it wasn't dipping below 90. And I was doing maintenance on tin roofs at that time.
Oh my gosh.
So we would start right at sunrise, kick off at 11, go back to work at like 4:30 and work until sunset.
Oh my gosh. Sweltering. Oh,
it was like you couldn't sleep at night because it was just so hot. And so one morning I took my little Gretchen, my VW Bug, and went out to some strip pits and had an aquarium thermometer with me because I was interested in checking out what the water temperature was. 96 degrees was the water temperature in the pit, the strip pit.
oh my gosh.
And so, I mean, 96 was cooler than was outside. So I went swimming. It was like the park opened at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm right there waiting for it to open, go swimming. I'm by myself. And I was about 100 yards from the shore, and I hit a cold current of water, and my back just began spasming.
It can do that. Yeah, it's kind of a shock to the system. And the muscle just starts tensing up. What did you do?
Rolled over on my back and kind of like did a backwards dog pedal to shore.
And you were by yourself. Nobody could have helped you, right? If you'd gone into distress.
Nobody could have helped me.
You had your wits about you. I mean, did you just automatically do that, or did it take you a moment to figure out?
No, I think I pretty much automatically did it.
Thank heavens.
I'm pretty sure you've lived your 7 lives, or at least 5 of them by now, Lorraine.
Well, you know, I've thought about this. If I were a Anglo cat, I would be in my second set of 9 lives.
I'm sure
if I was a Latin American cat, I would be in my how does this go? I would be almost into my 3rd set.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of close calls and near misses, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a few of those myself. They're humble brags, but you know, it's like
I almost died twice before I was a year and a half old, so I started this life with it.
Oh my God. Are you in touch with your parents anymore, Lorraine? Is that too personal of a question?
Both of my parents have passed.
I just have never imagined them before. So I got hit with a curiosity. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. But I'm glad we're here. And, you know, lots of stamina, you know, between us in this space, I can tell. A lot of exploring still yet to be done. I'm going to keep posting this. There's no reason not, you know, to stop. So thank you for joining and being a part of this monthly series. And
Well, thank you for hosting it, Tammy.
Of course, of course.
Yes,
I get pleasure out of it. It does not feel so much like work. And because we're kind of like a poetry family, I've dispensed with a lot of the formalities, you know. I really like how these are evolving as into kind of family table chats, you know. And Richard had suggested to me maybe like officially kind of shaping this to be something that's maybe not I mean, it can continue to be open to others in the public, but kind of taking it around another corner. So I just want to invite y'all to think about what some, you know, how this could be more conducive to quality sharing and information exchanges and bonding and connecting through conversation and anything we might share, like sharing screens, because when we've done that, it's been pretty magical as well.
I like how you connected us tonight with the idea of a pinch.
Yeah, I mean, things bind and kind of call attention to themselves, you know, clothes that bind too tightly, especially in the summer right now for me, you know, it creates another layer of grief or tension. So I knew I didn't want to make this like a funereal, you know, type of reading, because I like things that are expansive, you know, start here and let it bubble out. So I thought pinch was close enough, huh? Feeling the pinch. And I love the word pellizca or pellizcar, and it feels very Nahuatl with the Z in there. And it's a word I grew up using. And yeah, I think my sister and I pinched each other a lot when we were kids. Would you like to share something else, Jeffrey?
Oh, just one of the things I thought about when you were sharing about all, I mean, the dealing with the bureaucracy and all that entails. I realized when I was thinking about when my mother died. I mean, she was in New Hampshire. My sister was in New Hampshire. My other sister was in Vermont. So, like, you know, and my daughter was 13 years old here in Fort Worth, and they took care of everything. And it's only now, in thinking back about it, that I realize how much I wish I had been able to be part of that bureaucratic dealing with at the time. You know, I missed something by not being part of that. So just thought I'd share that. You're muted.
Yeah, I've been in attendance at some indigenous ceremonies, and the busyness of some of the work, the prep work, is also part of the ceremony. The busyness of cooking, the busyness of gathering firewood for the big ceremonial fire, the busyness of bringing stones for little boundary lines you want to create, or to laying plates on the ground to offer plates of food to the ancestors. It's busy work, you know, doing the preparation for a ceremony, but it's also beautiful thing to witness, and the kind of low level chit chat, the you know, like checking in, like, oh, did you bring the salt, or how about this, how many plates do we need? Oh wait, my tia Julia, you know, she needs a plate. Hey, go get a plate for tia Julia, because remember, you know, oh yeah, tia Julia, she just passed, we got to have a plate for her. You know, all of that kind of conversation, goal-oriented work of prepping is so precious to me. And when one doesn't have a part in that, it can make you feel left out, like you didn't get to be part of the intermingling of everybody's energies and doing the prep.
Absolutely.
There's an episode of Reservation Dogs. There's when one of the grandma characters has passed away, a grandma character, and everybody's in the home, I guess that elder's home, and they're preparing a meal, and I forgot exactly what they were. There was one thing a lot of the women were working on, and it was an honor to be asked. You know, if somebody came in and sat on the couch, they may not feel welcome to go and jump in and start gathering, you know, putting, you know, cornmeal on their hands or whatever. But when you're asked, like, hey, we need another hand, can you help? You feel honored, like, oh man, yeah, please connect me to this process.
Mhm.
So I understand what you're saying about feeling left out, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wasn't Jeffrey caring for his child that was in school, and it would have been, could it have been possible that you could have left her and gone to join the other people in the funeral preparations? It doesn't sound like it to me.
No, and it happened so suddenly that the and I did bring my daughter up for the celebration of life after, and she got to meet cousins and all sorts of other things. So there was a lot of positives to being able to bring her up there at the time. So yeah, I understand that, but nevertheless, it's uh, and it's funny that, I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking about it and reading about it. I just finished a book which I recommend called "The Smell of Rain on Dust: Grief and Praise" by Martin Prechtel, and I'll put it into the chat.
Thank you.
Who was raised in a pueblo, although he's Anglo, and then went and studied. He lived with the Mayan village for a number of years, and so he shares a lot about the rituals of the Pueblo culture and also the Mayan culture that he was working in, and it's a amazing book. I'll put that in the chat just so you've got it.
Thank you.
You presented me with a book last Sunday, Jeffrey, and I brought it out of my bag when I got back to the hospital, and my whole family was really interested in it, but my niece immediately started reading out of it, and she has it now. There was a section that was really speaking to her. So thank you for that gift.
You're welcome. I think I'm always going to have a copy of that to give whenever it's necessary. I went and ordered another one, so I have one to give to the next person who needs it.
And what was the title of that one?
Oh, it was a long title. It was something about a year of grief from a friend who knows, or something like that.
Okay.
I'll send it to you later.
Oh, I mean, I can ask my niece. I just thought you might say it out loud for us. Um, I have a poem about grief. I don't know if I can find it real quick. Let me see if I can look it up. But if somebody would like to read next, go for it, because I might take another minute to find this poem.
I'm a better audience.
Oh, maybe I. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not showing up very quickly here. I think I mean, I could explain it, but it's about my Uncle Fred, my favorite uncle, and his nickname was Lico, Lico. And here it is. And it's about the pain or the pinch of having to write how it, the finality of that phrase, the phrase I had just written, which was dying uncle in Abilene. Dying uncle in Abilene. It just hit me like, oh God, it's like I couldn't deny that that's what was happening. So anyway, this is the piece I wrote where I'm trying to do like a word scramble with all the letters in that phrase, dying uncle in Abilene. Dying uncle in Abilene. I've never written that configuration of words before. I've never ever seen them together like that on a screen. Somehow a finality. And I wish I'd not typed them flat out like that. Wish I hadn't been cursed to read them on the screen, looking so official and certain this afternoon. How do I undo this, that which has been written and allowed to set in as a factual truth? Maybe I can scramble the message, make something new in these words to discern instead. Uncle in dying Abilene. Abilene dying, uncle in. Or further, mishmash the letters to quite distance myself from cancer and suffering, familial loss and pain. Lean, ying, none, Abe. Or undying, clean Nile. But ultimately, because it's best that I face fully what he has already known, in you lean, I end cling. Bye. So I don't know if I can do that. Dying uncle in Abilene morphed into in you lean, I end cling. Bye. And that's the final line of the poem. Mm-hmm. And that's the message I needed to take to my heart. So then it didn't feel like quite a pinch, you know, is how we can, you know, kind of bring things out in a different way that kind of soothes our interior and allows us to be less perplexed and grasping. So I've had some practice before this past week with my brother. I've had some practice. And for those of us who've lost pets, you know, so much practice. And when you have a lot of social media connections and people post about their, you know, fading cats and horses and sheep and dogs, you know, I might cry twice in one day because I know people who lose their pets, you know, that frequently. Circle of life.
I always thought that veterinarians are really special people because they have to guide the same owner through death after death after death after death of pets if they're with them long enough. Um, they get really good at it. They get really good at working with people who are dealing with death. Much better than human doctors who only deal with death every once in a while.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. That's very true.
Well, the hospice doctor does that pretty often, and it turns out that he, Dr. Capper, is active with the church that I used to attend. I used to go to Catholic school there, and my mom knows the Capper family. My sister went to school with Elaine Capper, so we knew the doctor. The ICU nurse, Catarina Bonilla, is a friend of mine, and I knew she was a nurse, but I didn't know she was the ICU nurse. And she walked in, she goes, "Hi, I'm the nurse for your brother. You're in the ICU unit." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Katarina." And she hugged me, and it just felt very safe. To, you know, the space got cleared of a lot of artifice and antisepticness because of the warmth these people brought in, and my family connection, my friend connection with some of these folks. You don't get that often at all. And I'm glad in my brother's final days at that hospital that we had connections with good people there who were listening well and being very attentive and responsive. So I wish that for all of us who, have to navigate situations like that, for there to be sympathy and compassion in the room, and empathy, of course.
Yeah.
So anybody want to lighten things up or go to a different direction with this reading, PELLIZCO or not?
Are there any giggling kind of pinches to be discussed? Flirtatious pinches? Anybody have some love poems with pinches in them? I'm asking because I do not yet have such a thing, but it sounds like a plan.
I don't at the moment, but I can look.
Maybe just something with love in it, with love and hope at the same time.
Love and hope. Oh yeah, let's find that.
Okay, let's live that at some point. Yeah.
I've got one in Spanish that I like to pull out when I think the audience needs to be shocked a bit.
Oh boy.
But I don't know how many people will be able to understand it.
I understand a bunch of Spanish, but not everything. Can you, I don't know, Tammy? Sometimes if somebody reads something in Spanish and somebody else translates it right after in bits rather than the whole thing, is that a possibility?
Yeah, like a rough or vague translation after? Sure.
Yeah, just for the meaning of it. Not necessary to reach for the poetry.
Who wants to be able to do the translation?
Well, it would have to be me.
Okay.
So I'll try to listen carefully. I mean, I'm not the best, but go for it, Lorraine.
Para bailar la rumba, los tambores suenan por el palmar. Nos acercamos. El ritmo rumba empieza a llenar nuestros cuerpos. Con timidez, batimos los brazos, estiramos el cuello y bailamos pisando la arena fresca. La luz clara de la luna luce sobre nuestros hombros desnudos. Tu ser gallo se pavonea hacia mí. ¿Eres el que yo deseo? Veo tu cuerpo tan moreno, tan firme. Mi ser gallina te recibe. Y bailamos pisando, tan mojadas nos hacemos. El sudor brilla por las plumas azules de tu cuello. Siento la brisa por todas las rojas plumas mías. Bailamos pisando, las orillas nos llenan. Ahora nuestros seres no son los nuestros. Bailamos pisando, yo Chango te monto a ti mi Yemayá. Bailamos pisando, el ritmo crece. Ay, la pasión crece y crece hasta que nos temblamos. Que, ay, ay, y los tambores se callan.
Whoa. You gave us the whole thing. Wow.
That poem reminds me of a scene from an opera inspired by the life and the writings of Reinaldo Arenas, who was a gay or queer poet from Cuba. And yeah, there's a scene in the opera where there's a lot of like queer couples on the beach dancing, intermingling, very passionate. And they were all, and the dancers on the stage were wearing white outfits. It was very beautiful. A lot of kind of sexualized gymnastics and tumbling that was happening. It was done very tastefully because it was the Fort Worth Opera. But yes, it's a very visceral poem. I mean, a poem that kind of details like a visceral encounter of bodies in the dance vernacular, and all their steps are on like spirit forms, the orishas, different god spirits. So there's a feeling of this being a spiritual dance, but also very passionate. And the drumming, the live drumming, which I imagine is hand drumming, just kind of keeps the tempo kind of escalating until the drumming stops.
Lorraine read that very passionately, very beautifully.
Very delicious recitation,
yes.
For sure.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And if you're not familiar with Reinaldo Arenas, I highly recommend the movie about him called what is the name of the movie? I think it's Almodovar directed. Can't think of the name of it right now.
Would you say the director's name, please, again?
Almodovar. It's in the chat. Almodovar. He's a Spanish director. seen the film at least twice. Yeah, it's very good. What is it? Oh, pisar. Tell us what the pisar meanings are. Count them out for us. Lorraine, do you want to tell us the meanings of pisar?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not quite for for public consumption.
Okay. Yeah, I it's in the chat. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a very juicy poem. Like that one.
Like I said, I like to, when I think the audience needs to be woke up a bit, if they're a little bit too staid, I like to read that poem.
Are there staid people in the place where you live? People that need to be shocked?
All over you find them. Yeah. You look like you're blushing, Jeffrey.
I guess I can't hide my thoughts.
We were talking earlier about honoring the memory of, I don't know how the conversation was going exactly, about honoring the memory of people who've left us or things that happened with those people. But I want to say, I'm doing a new reading of that film, the Fellini film 8½, because it's as if Fellini, through the main character played by Marcello Mastroianni, is kind of coming to terms with some of the family members and special people in his life and his relationship with them. And at the same, in the same round of watching movies, this past week, I watched a documentary by Agnes Varda, who's French, called Beaches of Agnes. And what she does in this film is create reenactments of pivotal moments in her memory, like with her ex-husband, or with her mother, or kind of like Alice's, your wild heyday, LSD in the picture on the fridge moments, just reenacting certain pivotal highlight memories. And I'm really loving that idea of kind of doing like a documentary, like a cinema documentary, that are kind of an amalgam of key moments between you and people that were meaningful to you. And I've been thinking here in the last year about what it would be like for me to create something like that about a past partner, lover, who I haven't gotten to grieve and properly honor with any work. And I feel like that one could be, that work could be a cinematic work about that particular person. I wonder, has anybody ever thought of that? I mean, as writers, we pay tribute to important moments and things and maybe people, but are there other art forms you've thought to employ or engage in to honor some lost beloveds?
I mean, I do think it's very important to start telling their stories. I mean, in some form, even if it's just, well, like my story about my brother that I started this out with, just uh, an episode, a short episode. And I am starting to sort of think about writing some of that down. Um, but it's not a short story. It's not a poem. I don't know what it is.
I was speaking with a dear old friend about his documentation of the 1980s. He when he was a very young, beautiful Texan Mexicano man, he was asked by Federico Fellini to portray Fellini in the movie. What's the name of that one? Roma, I think it's Roma. But anyway, Pedro Gonzalez Falcon was letting me know that there existed some wonderful films of exhibits and events from the 1980s that he had, and that he was just beginning to bring the films up and analyze them and restore them and figure out how in the world to put them together into something watchable. So there's stuff out there.
Yeah, and there's another filmmaker, I think it's a female filmmaker from maybe England, who has two films out, and they're kind of they're connected, like a part one and part two, and it's about a former partner, and it's like a film within a film where the main character is a film student who wants to direct an experimental film to not to necessarily do homage or pay positive tribute to the guy who no longer is her partner, and maybe it ended badly, but there's something very meaningful to kind of hold on to about their relationship that she wants to document. So I mean, there's all this time spent like finding the right actor, and he has to have the right mannerisms to kind of mimic exactly or as precisely as possible in the director's view what her former partner, how he used to move or gesture with a cigarette, or and to get it just right, and to get the curtains right for a particular argument they had in their living room, the curtains and the
Wow.
couch, just like trying to reconstruct a pivotal moment that wasn't necessarily beautiful or heartwarming. It might have been heartbreaking, that you want to, but it's so pivotal for you in your growth, I guess, that you want to reenact it or have it be cinematically depicted. I'm really fascinated by that longing, by some artists to create that. Like, I need to see that. I need to see it. Like, it's in my head, and I need to maybe let go of it, or I need to confirm how it happened, so maybe I can learn from it by watching it on a screen. I think it's interesting, very interesting.
Definitely, yeah. Which also reminds one of the people who have worked with their writing and made them into poetry videos. So I worked at the Talento Bilingüe de Houston in the when was that? The early 2000s, with my daughter Tonancin's work, and she made some pieces and at diverse works too. Some can just be a straight recording of the poet reading, and others can be like like Tammy was indicating, you know, a reenactment or a creation of a fantasy scene. So there's so much to be done with poets' work in other media.
And Pammy, do you have the resources to do that kind of a work?
Heck no. But the ideas could be scripted for sure. The ideas could be scripted, and then to, as they say, shop around your script, your idea to a director. That would be a step. But now that we're in this moment of, you know, writers striking, you know, I guess hold your cards close, writers. Don't let any robots or AI entities be taking a sneak peek at your work right now. We're all in this precarious position. I don't know, maybe y'all don't feel so precarious about it, but I know a lot of people, you know, that I hear on the radio and stuff. Yeah, they're agitating for us to pay attention, to sit up and not be passive about this, because they're pretty attuned to the ominous implications of a lot of AI, you know, productivity in the midst of the art worlds that we are a part of.
Yeah. The possibility of earning a living as an artist, as a poet, writing the script, being the writers, and to have, how would you say it, Tammy? AI take it from us to do parodies, even. I mean, it might come off as parodies, but it wouldn't be the poet's work. It would be the movie corporation earning the money for that.
Yeah, it's amazing that NPR had a story a month or so ago about a singer who used AI. She fed into the computer her voice doing different things. I mean, they plotted out sounds for the voice to make. And then they created her singing in foreign languages that she didn't know, songs that she didn't know, you know, operatic things. But it was her voice, and it was recognizable that it was her voice. And she was doing this herself. And then this story I was listening to on NPR about the strike, and they were talking about how the studios can, especially with not the stars but with other actors, they can own that person's visage, their form, their movement, everything, and use it however they want in whatever form they want in other pieces. And I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, this has happened so quickly that people haven't had time to think about all of the ramifications of it. It's just amazing.
Well, first of all, I'm going to type the name of the film that I was alluding to before Night Falls. It's the wonderful film about Reynaldo Arenas. I highly recommend it. And it was this film that was kind of the inspiration for the opera that I saw. So yeah, what I wanted to say in response to what you just said, Jeffrey, is that I think a lot about this term Elsie, that I came up with an acronym ELS, I think it's Elsie, like that, Elsie. And okay, so I think about well, I don't need to mention Elsie, ethical, legal, and social implications of anything we invent as humans. I'm gonna go see the Oppenheimer movie next Friday. My nephew, who's 14, wants to see that because we asked him, "Hey, do you feel like seeing a movie, Lucas? What kind of movie?" And here's this one and the new Wes Anderson movie, and he said, "I want to see Oppenheimer." I'm like, okay, that's not a lighthearted comedy. But I want to see it too. It looks really amazing. So, the implications of human created stuff, do we stop and think about what are the ethical, legal, social, and there was another word, another letter, ethical, legal, social.
The letter I?
Yeah, but I can't remember what it would have stood for. Anyway, you get the gist, that we need to apply Elsie to everything we invent. Like, what will this canon do once I've created it? What are the ethical, legal, social implications of this cannon or this nuclear bomb or this painkiller called fentanyl? Do we really want this being manufactured in great quantities so we all have access to this painkiller, and now we are where we are. And by the way, I heard a story on the radio 2 weeks ago about some scientists who've been doing batch tests on medications you can get at the farmacias in Mexico, pharmacies in Mexico. And I know people, you may know people who cross the border from the US into Mexico to go to the farmacias to buy like antibiotics and painkillers and such, because they don't need a prescription necessarily. You can get this stuff and it's much cheaper across the border. Well, batch tests have been done on some medications at these kind of they're like retail outlets in Mexico, and the scientists are finding fentanyl in medications that aren't labeled fentanyl. So this is really scary to me. So there's more precarity. It becomes even more kind of potentially disastrous for more humans when shit like that is rampantly happening around us. So yeah, ethical, legal, social implications of AI or inventing the bigger, louder pickup truck. I don't know. Do we need it, and why do we need it, and how many of them do we allow to exist around us, and who gets to make money off of the sale of them, and why do they need to make as many as they make? The cat's out of the bag, I fear.
We just have to watch our own steps.
Watch the early steps?
Or watch what we choose to do, or what we allow AI to have of us, if we want anything to do with AI. But yeah, Tammy, you took us places we didn't expect to go.
Yeah, even though I'm mourning and working really hard on the situation related to my family, my mind is, still thinking about other things as well, and connected to many themes, as you all are. You're all connected to many themes and investigations, and that's why I like you all very much. I love you. Let's just say
we
that.
We love you.
And
yes.
Those investigations are part and parcel of who you are as a writer and a person.
Well, AI is really hitting us proofreaders and editors, as well as writers, copywriters, extremely hard. I've lost probably like 70% of my business.
In about
Wow.
what span
Because
of time,
people-
Lorraine? In about
Pardon?
what span of time? Because this happened very rapidly, I think.
Well, actually, since the pandemic began, I lost because of the business of the shutdown. But now people think they can rely on Grammarly and translators and everything like that, and they don't realize that they don't do a good job.
They don't.
They don't
I'm
know
tired of
excellent
finding
job.
so many typos in what's printed or what's online these days. It's annoying.
It got worse during the pandemic, Lorraine. I noticed more typos. I'm like, who the hell is hiring these copyright not
They're not.
proofreaders.
People aren't hiring.
Yeah, it's shitty stuff that I'm seeing,
Exactly.
So if you know of anybody who needs a translator, proofreader, or editor, please send them my way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's tough days all around. Sorry, Lorraine. Sorry.
We could stay busy just sending letters of complaint to the editors who are cranking this stuff out. I decided a while ago not to complain every time I see a typo. But maybe that's something that should be done.
But I there's so many people who want to be writers, but they're not willing to invest the time to learn how to do it. So they crank out whatever, and even relying on AI to do it because they so desperately want to see their name in print. And I have nothing against people expressing themselves, but when you do it in a way that is so dishonest, and it makes, what does that say about society?
When
That
you say
people-
dishonest, what do you mean by dishonest, Lorraine? Like factually incorrect, or what do you?
Well, I mean, one aspect of being dishonest is plugging into chat GPT or any other kind of artificial intelligence to do it. The other is to not even spend time to make sure that you are communicating well. And that means with writing well in a way that is clear, that doesn't have the typos and the spelling errors and all of that. Just cranking it out and throwing it out there. And I'm basically speaking about written, not spoken, because there's a big difference between the written word and the spoken word. Our craft began as a spoken word, but as a written word, people think they can make tons of money doing it, and so they just crank it out and throw it out there. And it's just, there is a lot of really bad stuff hitting books, hitting the screens. And like, I read a lot of travel bloggers, and they're in it for the money, for generating money by selling products, getting their Amazon points. They're a little cut from Amazon, from products that they plug on their blogs, and doing it with the SEOs, you know. And so the writing is absolutely horrible. They're saying they're using maybe 50 words in the entire blog, repeating things over and over again just to hit the SEOs so that the search engines will rank them higher, because they have the keywords repeated over and over and over again. But the writing is horrible. And then they go to the tourism boards, and they go to hotels, and they go to restaurants to get comp meals, complimentary, free meals, free stays for writing for their places. And I mean, what kind of image, how does that reflect on your image and your reputation to have somebody who is writing so horribly bad that, you know, I mean, yeah, they're writing great about you, but look at how they're writing. It's really poor writing. And they're doing it that way just to get the free trips, to get the freebies.
Yeah, so again with Elsie, ethical, legal, social implications, it kind of dumbs down the content. It's boring to regular readers because they kind of can detect formula. I walk away when I detect formula. I don't have time for formulaic gibberish, be it written or cinematic, or a lot on TV for sure. Yeah, I mean it dumbs down things, and also folks' expectations and their idea of what great literature or great travel writing, for instance, is. It changes. It's becomes something less attractive, less meaningful. It's drivel. It's like I couldn't believe when I first saw my first haul video, HAUL video, that people would actually want to log on to YouTube to watch somebody go on and on about the things they bought at a shopping mall. And yet there would be hundreds of thousands of follows and likes and things like that. And, but there's a great dumbing down that, well, I say great, I mean, an increased dumbing down of content.
You're absolutely right. And, like, I think I have a big bone to pick with journalism, because newspapers, for the most part in the US, was written at once upon a time, and not too long ago, at an 8th grade level. But in the journalism schools, they began teaching right 1 grade level below what the common grade level is. So if the average reading comprehension is at 8th grade, you should be writing at 7th grade. But what happens after a while? Because the people are reading things at a 7th grade reading level, the general population, then you should be writing at the 6th grade reading level. And now newspapers are writing at a 3rd grade reading level.
Yeah, I've seen some really sloppy articles that are making it in circulation, like on Yahoo News, which is a very, well-known platform, and you probably get some, new followers and hits and all that on your articles when they get put on that platform. but some of them have kind of street vernacular, which I use when I'm speaking informally. But I don't want to see a written journalistic article use that kind of sloppy lingo. It's just it's creating a place for legitimizing that you know, that informality. And then things get real wishy-washy. You know, like, well, what do you mean if you're using a cliche that I heard around the corner, you know, in downtown Dallas, and you have to be in the know about that cliche, then you kind of limited, you know, the range of who's going to understand what you're talking about. If we're not using words that have set dictionary definitions, then when you read an article, you're not sure if you're interpreting it. I'm worried. I'm low-key worried all the time about how we use language.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to go to bed.
Don't be afraid to sleep. It's a good thing you're sleeping if you're able to sleep. I plan on doing it myself.
So thank you again for being here, all of you. See you next month. Is next month the anniversary month, or is this month the anniversary month?
For this the virtual reading, it's in November.
Oh, November, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be celebrating our 3rd anniversary in November of 2023. I'm gonna be signing off too. I believe it or not, we made it past 10 o'clock.
Oh wow.
That's just speaks to how invigorated we can be in our conversation, that we stick around to hear each other. Thank you, Jeffrey. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks again for all your support and love.
Jeffrey, good night, Tammy. Good night, Alice.
You'll be safe. Keep writing, Lorraine, and if I hear any need for editors and translators, I will let you know for sure.
Thank you very much, Mom. Ciao.
Be well. Gracias. I thought Mark was going to come back, Mahute, but he apparently just decided not to. I'm going to be seeing him tomorrow for his farewell shindig, where there's a nice pub around, not too far from me, and that's where he and his wife met.
Oh,
so tomorrow is going to be a gathering there at 4 o'clock for people
how
to
sweet.
say goodbye to them. And they're a sweet couple, and I'll go hang out with him some more.
That sounds wonderful, Tammy. He definitely cares for you.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's a good guy.
Wonderful. Okay, adios until the next time.
Thank you so much for being with us and for sharing all you did, and give my love to San Anto people, and you be safe and keep cool.
You too. I'll gladly spread your name. Thank you.
All right.
Take care, Tammy. Bye-bye.
Adios. Bye.
Adios.